Happy Sabbath, everyone. Hey, good to see all of you guys. So we started a series. It's called "You Are Known." Okay, this really goes into what all of us really desire, which is we want to be fully known by people. Okay, but at the same time, we hide. When people get too close, we get uncomfortable. But at the same time, we have these like two different like pulls or desires that we have, which is want to be fully known, and yet at the same time, we get scared. But at the same time, we want them to be us to really fully know us because we fully want to be loved. Okay? So we have these two different desires or pulls within us, and we go, man, I really wish that someone would love me for just as I am. Okay? They know all the flaws, they see all the weaknesses, and yet they're not going to leave me. They're not going to abandon me, and they're going to be okay with me. All of us, including me, every single one of you guys, we feel this way. Okay? Last week we talked about why we have these like two different things where we want to be fully known and fully loved, and yet at the same time we're so scared. We said, well, Genesis 3 perfectly describes that, right? Because we had intimacy, we had fully nakedness in front of God in Genesis 3, and yet when sin comes into the world, we see that they cover, they blame, they hide, because all of a sudden now they're scared to be fully known. Okay? So, we talked about last week how because we're so scared, we use stuff to cover up. We use our careers to cover up. We use money to cover up. We use relationships to cover up. Right? For example, if I gave you guys, okay, like a couple $1,000,000, okay, do you think you would change the way you behave? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. Again, why? Because it makes you more secure. Some of you guys, it makes you feel like, oh, now I'm worth something. Now I am somebody. Okay? Or maybe some of you guys who are single, what if you dated a hot girl or a hot guy or a celebrity? Do you think you would walk around with, okay, your shoulders more up now? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because now, again, we use career, money, these different things to make ourselves feel better. Because why? We always feel naked all the time. We feel exposed. Okay? So last week we talked about how Enneagram, it actually shows us how we cover ourselves. Okay? One of the ways we use to cover ourselves, money, career, all these things, but one of the main things that all of us do, we use our personalities to cover up, to make us feel better. Okay? To make us say, now I feel loved. Now I am somebody. Okay? So last week I gave you guys this test. Okay? If this is your first time here or you have no idea what's going on, there's a test in the back. We're going to give it out to you at the end. Okay? So you could actually take a test for yourself and see, how am I trying to cover up? How am I trying to earn love from other people using my personality? Okay? So we're going to be going over one at a time every single week. Okay? Today, we're going to go over type 8. Okay? Before we go in, though, just let me give you just a warning. Okay? Not a, kind of a warning. Okay? If you are an 8, it's a warning because it's going to get pretty deep and you're going to feel very uncomfortable. And by the way, you know that it's your number when you feel extremely like vulnerable and uncomfortable. Okay? If you think you're an 8, but you're like, this is not a big deal, okay, then you're probably not an 8. Okay? Number 2 is some of the things, the characteristics that I'm going to talk about, it doesn't mean that every single 8 is going to be this way. Okay? It's just a generalization. Okay, think of it like color, right? Just because something is red that doesn't mean that there aren't like shades of different red, right? All right. So let's go over our first Enneagram. It's going to be type 8, and we call these type 8, we call them, they're called the challengers. Okay, there's 3 different characteristics. Characteristics number 1, challengers are this. They are energetic. They have a lot of energy. Okay, these people on type of an Enneagram, they have the most amount of energy. So what they do is when they come into a room, you know that they are there. They're not necessarily like physically big, but they have like an aura. They have like this energy where you go, oh, like you are pulled to them like automatically, like kind of like a magnet. Okay? They're energetic. So what that means is because they have so much energy, they come off very, very aggressive. Okay? People who are not 8s, they're like, why are they so angry all the time? But for 8s, they don't feel that way. Okay, for them, they're just being themselves. For them, you go, why are you so blunt? For the 8s, they're just saying, I'm just being honest and straightforward with you. Okay? But people who are not 8s, they're going to be like, wow, you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of aggressiveness, and it seems like you have a lot of anger. Why? Because for the 8s, they have a lot of that energy going on within inside. Okay? They love conflicts. They love arguing. Why? Again, because it creates energy. 8s, if there is no energy, if like, you know, the atmosphere is kind of low, then what they do is they go and make problems. Or what they do, playfully, they go and poke people just to like annoy them, just to like get them going, just to see what they're made out of. Why? Because again, they have a lot of energy to themselves, and they need to like stimulate their energy somehow. Okay? Number 2, because of this, they're very black and white in the way they view things. They come, okay, for example, let's say an 8 comes at you and like pokes you and like argues with you, and they don't really disagree with you, but sometimes 8s, they just want to mess around. And they just want to be a contrarian. They want to just be a devil's advocate. So sometimes what they do, okay, they come and they like poke at you, and like, let's say that person's like, oh, no, I don't care, or oh, I don't know, or they act weak, then all of a sudden, you're just a weak person now. Okay? They're very black and white. They're saying, you're either a strong person or you're a weak person. You're either a righteous person or you're a sinner. So they come up to you and you have bad impression on them. All of a sudden, they're like, you suck. You're just a horrible person. That's it. Okay? There is no like gray area. For them, it's either black or white. Why? Because their energy, they have so much energy, they're just like, you're this or you're just that. Okay? And that's why 8s, they're either all in on an activity or they don't care at all. Okay? Again, some of these things, generalizations, okay? Again, the 8s are going to appear differently, but these are kind of the main characteristics. Number 3, they care a lot about justice. Okay? When they see weak people, so number 8s have very, very complicated relationship with weak people in general. Why? Because weak people, they don't like to see weak people because they feel like strong. We're going to talk about why that's important. But at the same time, when they see someone who's being vulnerable or who's weak, then they also want to take care of them as well. So 8s are actually very good leaders. If used, or if very healthy, they can lead so-called weaklings or vulnerable and actually stand up for them and go against like a tyrant as well. Okay? Now, again, 3 characteristics: energetic, black and white, and they love justice. Okay. Do we see anyone like this within the Bible? Okay, is there an example of someone like an 8 within the Bible? Well, Peter read it for us. It's going to be Samson. Okay, it's going to be Samson. Again, do we know if Samson was a type A? I don't know. We don't know. But if you just look at the characteristics of Samson, it's very similar to this. Okay? Let me just give you kind of like an overview picture of his life. Okay, or just one event and how just one tiny event like made like a whole mess of big event. Again, this is a typical 8. Okay. So Samson sees a woman that he likes. So he goes home and he tells his mom and dad, I want that wife. Okay, and that's how they did it back in those days. Okay, don't do it now. So on their way to go see, okay, to get married, Samson sees, do you guys know what animal? He sees a lion. What does he do? He tears it apart. Okay? That's an 8. Okay? Sees conflict. Okay, most who are not 8s, we run away. Or we like try to like feed it away or go somewhere else. But 8s, what do? They fight it. They rip it apart. They go, I won. I'm stronger. I have authority. This is what 8s do a lot of times. So he rips it apart. He gets to the party, okay, and during that time, the wedding parties were much longer, about 7 days. What does he do? He gets bored. The energy is not enough. So what does he do? He starts a bet with all of these different Philistines. Okay, now Philistines, basically, they were the rulers over the Israelites. Okay, so the Philistines are up here, and the Israelites, they're down here. Okay, so he starts a bet with these Philistines, and he gives them a riddle. Again, why? Because for 8s, they love messing around. They love energy. They need to expand this energy somehow. So he starts a bet. Okay? What happens? Those Philistines, hey, they can't figure it out. So they threaten to kill Samson's wife. So Samson's wife, what does she do? She starts, nagging to Samson, saying, hey, what's the answer? What's the answer? So what does Samson do? Again, he plays around. He's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you. Okay, why? Because for 8s, they have a really difficult time trusting people. Okay, we're going to talk about why they have a hard time trusting people. But in the end, he tells her, and she backstabs him. Okay? So the Philistines, these 30 guys, they actually win the bet. Samson, he gets more angry. So what does he do? He gathers, even before the foxes, he goes and kills 30 people. Okay? And he steals their clothes and then gives the 30 Philistines clothes. Again, just by looking at this story, I can go on and on and on and talk about the energetic, okay, the good things and the negative things of Samson. But again, we see these characteristics of this man who has a lot of energy, and yet he's very black and white. He either hates them or loves them, and at the same time, he wants to take care of the weak as well. Okay? Now, the 8s, they're considered, excuse me, they're considered like fire. Think of them as fire. Okay? Fire, when you see a fire, you don't just go, oh, I see a fire, and then you walk away. No, something about fire, it attracts you. It makes you go forward. And yet, you see fire, and you see the power that it has, but you also see how dangerous it could be as well. In Southern California right now, and in Northern California right now, the wildfires, it's out of control. And this is just like 8s. When it's contained, when it could be used for good, 8s are so very, very resourceful, and they're very good at leadership. But yet, when it's out of control, it could damage a lot of people. 8s have the most difficult time in a personal relationship. Why? Because a lot of times they seem so angry and they seem so aggressive. Let's get into it a little bit more. Okay? We're going to actually find out, okay, what's going on deep down inside. What are some of the lies? What are some of the hurts that they actually have? Why is it? Okay? And so this is the really good thing about Enneagram. It doesn't just say, this is your personality and that's it. Now we're going to go second level. And we're going to say, why do type 8s actually act the way they do. By the way, let's just pause really quickly. Are you guys an 8? Okay, some of you guys, you know who you are. Okay, I know at least one 8 in here. Okay, but there might be more 8s in here. Or now this is going to be really important because you probably know of an 8 in your life. Whether it's your coworker, within your family member, your brother, your sister, your wife, even maybe your kids. Why is this important? Because if you actually understand why they behave the way they do, okay, instead of just saying you're just an angry person and just dismissing them, you can actually understand where they're coming from. So you have a lot more sympathy and a lot more compassion for these people. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is where we're going. Okay, 8, if you are an 8, put your shield up because this is going to get deep. This is your wounding message. This is what 8s heard, okay, growing up. The world is a place, a hostile place, where only the strong survive. And the weak get emotionally beaten up or betrayed. So, put on your shield and armor. Oh, sometimes it does this. Put on your armor and never let them see your soft side. Do you see? For us, seeing the 8s, they're going to be like, Samson, like, stop. Why are you ripping like the tight? Like, just leave it alone. Just go. Like, dude, this is your wedding. Why are you having bets with people? Stop. Okay? You don't have to be the macho guy. You don't have to, you don't have to do that stuff. Okay? For us, we go, why are you doing that? But again, for the 8s, what they heard growing up is only the strong survives. Okay? The only way I can get on with this life, the only way I can get honor, the only way I'm going to feel like I'm loved or I feel secure is if I am strong. I have to toughen up. If I am weak, they're just going to eat me alive. So I have to toughen up. I can never let people see the weak side of me. And that's why 8s, they have really, really difficult time showing their weakness. This is why 8s, they walk around and it seems like they always have an axe to grind. They always feel like they have to be macho. Not because they're just angry people, not because they're just aggressive people, not just because they're not, they want to hide, but it's because deep down inside, the lie or the wounding message or the hurt message is the only way you're going to be loved, the only way you can go on with your life is you cover up and you act strong. Never show your weakness. If you're an 8, one of the hardest things you have the most difficult time doing is apologizing. Okay? Again, people who are not 8s, you're gonna be like, how come they never say sorry? It's because saying sorry, okay, means you have to show your vulnerability. Saying sorry means you made a mistake. Saying sorry means you're weak. And so for 8s, they don't do that. Okay, this is a song written. It's called 8. So this one band, they decided to create a song for every single Enneagram because they liked it so much. It describes it very, very well. This is what he says. I was just a kid who grew up strong enough to pick up his armor up, and suddenly it fit. So imagine a kid, he sees an armor because life is so hard or so hostile, so what does he do? He armors up, and it fit right in. I was little, I was weak, perfectly naive, and I grew up too quickly. And that's actually one of the characteristics of 8s too, is that they lose their innocence very quickly because they have to grow up, they have to take care. Now, you won't see all that I have to lose and all that I've lost in the fight to protect it. I won't let you in. I swore never again. See? Why? Because again, they feel like if I let people in, if I show people to my weakness, they're going to expose me. They're going to look at me and they're going to say, you can't even fend yourself? You're useless. They don't want that. It continues on. I can't afford it. No. I refuse to be rejected. When I see frail things, helpless things, broken things, I see the familiar. I was little, I was weak, I was perfect too, but now I'm a broken mirror. I can't let you see all that I have to lose and all I've lost in the fight to protect it. I can't let you in. I swore never again. I can't afford to let myself be blindsided. Okay? You see, when you see an 8 now, you don't just go, you're stop. Why are you such an angry person? Or why are you being so aggressive? Or why are you being so playful? How come you never apologize? Okay, that's not your go-to now. You rather say, okay, this is why. This is why you have to toughen up so much. This is why, okay, you act and behave the way you do. You see, there's a lot more compassion, a lot more sympathy towards people who are 8s. So once again, are you an 8? Or do you have characteristics of an 8? Or do you know of an 8? Okay. If you do, then now you can actually learn to be a lot more compassionate. Not just say you're just an angry person, you're just a tough person, but to actually see that they actually do have a tender side, just that they have really difficult time opening up. They're not trying to just be a contrarian, but that's how they connect. So instead of you just cowering down, sometimes to an 8, the best thing that you can do as a friend or a spouse, as a parent or as a child, is to actually play their game. And know that the conflicts or the fun, like too much fun sometimes, or too aggressiveness, is actually their way of connecting. Okay, but for 8, you have to also recognize, okay, if you're an 8, that this is not an excuse for you to be blunt, to be aggressive, okay? Because there is some healing, okay? Because, again, we're going to take it to another level now. Okay, we saw, okay, these are the characteristics, why they're like that, but we're going to actually also see, okay, how do you become healthier? Okay, how do you actually recognize to see that this is not working out? Because 8s, you're going to realize you're going to have a lot of issues in your interpersonal relationships. Okay, you're pushing people away. Even though you actually want to get people closer to you, you're pushing them away. Okay? And it's not healthy. So what do? Let's actually get to the solution. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more. There's 2 elements here that 8s need to remember. Can we lower the mic a little bit? There's 2 elements here that we, or especially 8s, need to remember. Or even if you're not an 8, if you have characteristics or you feel like, hey, I just need to be strong, there's 2 things that you really need to take away from Samson. Okay, the first thing is you have to recognize that you are not as strong as you think you are. Okay, again, now 8, if you're really an 8 here, you're going to be like, oh, you challenging me? You want to see? You want to see what I'm made of? Okay, you're going to feel like that. Okay, that's not what I'm trying to get at. Okay, I'm not challenging you. I'm not saying this to evoke you. I'm saying this is reality. Okay, for Samson, he had to learn this the hard way. He thought, no one's going to destroy me. I could play games all day long, and no one's going to get me. Why? Because I am the strongest. No one is going to penetrate through my shield. But what happens? He comes to the end of his life. He has to get his eyes plucked out for him to actually see reality. Do you see the irony of that? And that's what a lot of 8s actually have to go through. And it's really sad when they get there. When their relationships actually fall apart, when their marriages or their kids, they just say, I don't want to be around you because you're so aggressive and you're so blunt. It hits them finally. But you see, already by then, their eyes are already plucked out. See, one thing they have to realize is, no, they're not as strong as they think they are. But that's okay. That's okay. And that's the wound, that's the healing message that they need to listen to is, it's okay not to be strong. I know it's scary. Okay, if you're an 8 in here, if you're listening to that, okay, now you know if you're an 8 or not. If you're listening to what I'm actually saying, this should make you very, very uncomfortable. Because for an 8, for them to be vulnerable, for them to say, okay, I'm going to let down my shield, is almost impossible. Why? Because all their life, they had shield up. And all they've been saying is, the only way I'm going to feel loved and valuable if I have my shield. And what I'm asking them to say is, listen, we know there's tenderness within you. We know there's weakness within you. We know you're putting your shield up to protect yourself. We got it. We understand. God understands that. But you need to not forget that. You need to come to terms with that. You need to understand it actually takes strength for you to let down your shield. You see, what 8s believe is the only way I am strong is if I put my shield up. But what 8s really need to understand is, no, it takes real strength, real, genuine vulnerability. It takes real courage and real strength to shield down. And we understand that. We understand anybody can stand up here and just say, like, hey, look at the great things that I have done. But you see, it's very difficult to stand up here and tell people about your flaws, tell people about your mistakes. Why? Because that takes courage. And this is what 8s need to hear. 8s need to hear, hey, there are people that you can trust. I know it's difficult for you to believe that. But there are people that you can trust. There is a God who knows you already and is banging on your shield already. Okay, God knows everything about you. God already knows your weakness. 8s, you need to recognize that. You need to accept it. Because you have a hard time accepting that. You just want to say, no, weakness, throw it away. Just hide, cover up. Second thing here is we see him saying, God, strengthen me just once more. Again, when you actually shield down and when you are weak, you actually see, this is when you actually start to see, you see, the strength that I had, Samson, for him, it was all about himself. Look how strong I am. Look what I am doing. But you see, he actually realizes the strength that I have, it's all God. Okay? The only way I'm going to cover up my weakness is if I am actually covered by God. That's the only way that I'm going to have strength. Again, Samson, don't be like Samson. Because Samson, he showed it in the worst way ever. Okay. Because we see Samson, he does say, cover me up, but it's because he wants to take a revenge on them. Right? His whole point is not, God, cover me up because I'm so weak, but cover me up so I can gain strength and I could kill these people again. He's not the best example. But the best example of actually the true Samson, or the proper Samson, or the healthy 8, the best example of that is actually Jesus. Why? Jesus, he had all strength. He had all power. But you see Jesus, when he's walking on this earth, he's not walking around saying, hey, I demand respect from you. Bow down to me. Let's play games. Let's see what I can do to use you, to get rid of some of this energy and the anger I have. See, God doesn't do that. Jesus doesn't do that. What does he do? Although he has all strength, what does he do? He actually becomes weak. He actually becomes vulnerable. There's actually a case where Jesus actually says, when people are attacking him, Jesus actually says, disciples, hey guys, you don't think I could just call my angels to come down? I can. What is he saying? Jesus is saying, I have the power to do anything. But I am willing to show my true strength in my weakness. And this is the phrase that 8s need to remember. Or if you have characteristics of an 8, this is what you need to remember, which is, in my weakness, I am strong. In my weakness, I am strong. Because why? Not because I am, I have strength within myself. No, not because of that. But because God actually covers me. This is what Paul says. Let me end with this. Actually, let me show you this, and then I'll show you Paul. Okay? This is the same song. At the end, this is what he says. And this is what a healthy 8 should really look like. Okay? Again, you have to admit you are shielding up. You are weak, but that you need help. Okay? That's basically what you need to get at. Okay. Here I am. Pry me open. Again, if you're friends of 8, you got to sometimes help them get there because it's really difficult for them. What do you want to know? I'm just a kid who grew up scared enough to hold the door shut and bury my innocence. But here's the map. Here's a shovel. And this is what you need to say to God. God, here's the shovel. I'm going to open up. I'm all in, palms out. I'm at your mercy now. And I'm ready to be behind. I am strong. I am strong. I am strong enough to let you in. Do you see that? When you are admitting to yourself that you are weak, that's actually when you are strong. When you actually admit that you don't have the resources to go on, and you've just had shields all your life, that's when you realize the reality of what's really going inside. You don't have to act tough anymore. You see, real toughness, real strength, real courage is going to come when you actually realize your weakness, but come to God. Once again, when you are weak, then you are truly strong. This is what Paul says. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord, get away from me, my weakness. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, my strength is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, Paul says, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. This is why, for Christ's sake, light and weakness, and insult, and hardships, persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. If you have characteristics of an 8, if you can read with this, if this makes you uncomfortable, if you know somebody who is an 8, tell them this is what they need to do. Okay? They need to take their time and actually say, when I am weak, I am strong. I can trust God. Even if I'm vulnerable, even if I'm weak, I know that I can be covered up. Once again, let me end with this. Are you an 8? Are you shielding up? Or do you know of an 8? No matter where you are, whether you are an 8 or you know of an 8, let's understand them. But let's also help them to hear the voice of God. And for you guys who are an 8, for you to hear God saying, when you are weak, you are strong. Let's go into time.